42% of Americans now identify as independents, according to the Gallup poll. This was published today. 42%. That is a record high. Now, do you want to know why that's a record high? It's mostly because people are not identifying as much as Republicans. They write 42% of Americans on average identified as political independents in 2013, the highest Gallup has measured since it began conducting interviews by telephone a quarter of a century ago. Meanwhile, Republican identification fell to 25%, the lowest over that time span, the lowest in 25 years since they've been polling. At 31%, Democratic identification is unchanged from the last 4 years, but down from 36% in 2008. In each of the last 3 years, at least 40% of Americans have identified as independents. These are also the only years in Gallup's records that the percentage of independents has reached that level. That is, the level of 40%, and now significantly more than that. What's happening? The Republican Party's chasing its base away. And what do you think's going to happen when they push legalization of illegal aliens? Think of it this way. The Democrats are in this for votes. They're always in it for votes and power. So what do the Republicans get out of this? Money from the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism, among others. They get money. Well, Mark, they're going to lose voters. They're stupid. They're always losing voters. It takes a really solid conservative to win a landslide, 2 landslide elections, because he rejected all this crap, Reagan. Now, on top of that, conservatives are being attacked, not just by the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism, but the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism is in bed with the French Republican leadership in Congress. That's right. It's in bed with the Republican National Committee. It's in bed with the Republican bureaucratic apparatus in Washington, D.C., which has no connection to what's going on outside of that area. I'm going to demonstrate to you how sleazy this really is. I want to demonstrate to you how sleazy this really is by getting into, very briefly, an individual by the name of Steve LaTourette, a.k.a. Steve LaTourette's. You know, by the way, when I began giving names to individuals and names to events and names to this thing, nobody did that in talk radio. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I understand when people say, well, geez, everybody does that. Well, everybody didn't do it. So when I started calling Barbara Boxer, the dwarf senator, or Dianne Frankenfeinstein, or Chuck Schumer, Schmucky Schumer, remember that, Mr. Producer? How many people were, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it? And I was pressured to cut it out. I said, no, I'm not going to cut it out. It's called humiliation, and they need to be humiliated. These individuals, they're destroying us. These institutions, they're destroying us. MSLSD, another example. But there are a zillion examples. You can see them on the Internet. And when I started doing that, it wasn't done. And I was, no, don't do that. You don't say that about a senator or a congressman. You don't say that about a broadcaster. They can hurt you. No, not the New York Slimes. What if they write things again? I said, who cares? So here we have this former Republican Ohio Congressman Steve LaTourette, a.k.a. LaTourette's. This guy has a seedy personal life. You can Google his name on your own. I'm not going to get into that, but he's very sleazy. He first got elected to Congress as a conservative, but of course, now he's not. He's one of the top generals, writes the New York Slimes, in the establishment Republican war against the Tea Party. And why am I getting into this? I'm trying to demonstrate, and I am demonstrating, the kind of sleaze and cronyism, ancestral political relationships that we're dealing with. That the Tea Party movement, that the conservative movement, or as I call it, constitutionalists, constitutional conservatism. We are the idealists. We are the ones who are principled. We are the ones who truly seek to preserve this society. Not this riffraff. So this is a man who has a role that has benefited him in a group that he created called the Main Street Partnership, a corporate-backed advocacy group he runs, and its effort to raise millions and millions of dollars to protect centrist Republicans. What is a centrist Republican? What are they centrist on? The Bill of Rights? How are you a centrist on the Bill of Rights? You either support them or you don't. How are you a centrist on private property rights? Either you support it or you don't. How are you a centrist on limited government? Either you are or you aren't. Oh, they're a centrist. In other words, a sellout, a phony. Conservatives don't have to agree on everything, but what's this centrist stuff? Anyway, He wants to protect centrist Republicans from Tea Party challengers. So all of this ruling class, republicanism, big R republicanism, financed by the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism and others, they're all aligning against us and you, which is why you're identifying yourselves, according to Gallup, as independents. You may be registered as Republicans, but you're independents. You're conservative and you're independent. You don't like what's going on, and you don't like what's going on in your own party. So back to this fool, La Tourette's. He's got a blitz of activity. It's led to complaints that La Tourette's political opponents, under the guise of defending the Republican Party from extremists, that he's profiting from his continued, listen to this, presence in Washington spotlight. In addition, La Tourette's activities have raised questions about whether in his dual roles, the former congressman violated federal statute that prohibits lawmakers from lobbying on Capitol Hill within a year after leaving office. So what's this guy up to? Just look at this maze of sleaze that is this guy. His work for the mainstream partnership, he said, is focused solely on helping lawmakers who believe in the government's ability to solve problems. The government's ability to solve problems. Most of us are struggling trying to solve problems created by the federal government, like desperately looking for health insurance. Well, he wants to fight against extreme groups like the Club for Growth. Oh, there's a real extreme group, the Club for Growth, that supports free enterprise. But he likened the Club for Growth to a cancer that has attached itself to the Republican Party. Because, you see, they dare to challenge Republican incumbents. You're not allowed to do that. You cannot challenge the ruling class, ladies and gentlemen. He says, we want our party back. Now, La Tourette's activities since his departure from Congress have involved at least 4 distinct legal entities. Look what he's done. Just stick with me, please. That he now runs or helps to run. He's got the Main Street Partnership, that's the nonprofit group where he's president and chief executive, and they raise money from corporations and lobbyists. So you see, the Main Street Partnership is really a front for corporatists and lobbyists. Then he's got the Main Street Advocacy Fund and Defending Main Street Super PAC, which together are seeking $8 million to support Republican candidates against Tea Party challengers in the 2014 election. See, the lobbyists and the corporatists are pouring money into one of this guy's entities to help him fight we the people, we the taxpayer. That's centrism, I guess. And the guy's a lobbyist, running a lobby firm at the same time. And he's a former congressman. These guys never go home, do they? And he's got another group, the McDonald Hopkins Government Strategies, the lobbying office he set up, which pushes the agenda of clients as diverse as CSX, the freight railroad giant, and Citizens for Responsible Energy Solutions, a group that promotes renewable energy. So this guy's supporting the environmental radical nut jobs. He's supporting the railroads. He's all over the map. He's attacking we the people because we've had enough. We want limited government. We're tired of the subsidies, the corporate welfare, and we're the enemy. And he positions himself as this reasonable centrist where we need government to make these decisions, you see. I predict to you that when John Boehner leaves the speakership, he's going into one of these lobby outfits and he's going to make millions and millions of dollars. That's what he's doing now with the lobbying, with the immigration stuff. That's what he's doing now, attacking the Tea Party and so forth. He's getting ready for his swan dive. Now there's more. This Main Street Partnership is an unusual enterprise, even by Washington, D.C. standards. Now, it models itself as a tax-exempt social welfare group that generates research on topics such as immigration laws, healthcare, and federal tax code. But it lists as its members 52 House Republicans and 3 Senate Republicans, all so-called centrists. And its bills are paid by corporations, lobbyists, and other donors who each pay dues as much as $25,000 a year, raising about $1.4 million, according to the organization's chief operating officer. This is a tax-exempt social welfare group? You see how they play the system? You see how they protect each other? And you see how they pocket money doing it all? And then we're the radical nut jobs, you know. By bankrolling the group and contributing money to an affiliated political action committee, See the strings and the layers and the Rube Goldberg type activity that donates money to lawmakers who are members. Corporations gain the right to help draft the Main Street Partnership's position papers and to participate in events that feature sitting members of Congress. This is supposed to be a nonprofit group. Is the IRS even around anymore? Are they too busy chasing down Tea Party activists and people who won't sign up for health care, college students and so forth? The list of corporate members is kept secret by the companies that donate to the group's political action committee include General Electric, which a couple of years paid 0 corporate income taxes, and Dow Chemical, as well as La Tourette's law firm. That offers a hint. I'm not done. This is the guy who has set up shop in Washington through these 4 different groups, funneling money one to the other, using lobbyists and corporatists and the so-called centrist Republicans to fight you, just like the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism.